Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GhostComms podcast. I'm Jatmon, your host, joined by my co-host Vishal, and today we have a professional Fortnite caster and a very successful businessman that has arisen from the scene. You probably know his name well if you've ever touched competitive Fortnite. We have MonsterDFace with us today.
Yo, what's
What's
up,
up,
guys? Hey, listen. First off, thank you guys for inviting me on. Looking forward to the episode today, and yeah, appreciate the very humble intro, man. Just working at it, bro.
Sure, for
I
sure.
mean, you're. I know for me, I look up to you a lot. For multiple things. I mean, I love casting on the side. It's a bit of a passion of mine, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. You're just a great figure in the scene. I've talked to you a few times now. I've run into you I just ran into you at Dallas too, with your
That's right.
kid, which was an awesome thing.
Congrats on
So
that, by the way.
Thank you.
yeah, no, seriously. So just kind of, we kind of do this with everyone, but give us like your background. How did you start gaming? How's it been a part of your life? How did that lead to Fortnite?
Yeah, so I mean, shoot, when it comes down to how long I've been doing this as a professional, I've got about 10 years in the industry. So I was one of the earlier adopters, if you will, of just online
Mhm.
gaming, live
Mhm.
streaming, and Twitch. But where the passion all kicks in, I mean, from a young kid, of course, I think like most of us, we are exposed to different types of games. So shout out to my pops. He always
Dude,
put the
I'm
Game Boy in
telling
front
you.
of us, the Nintendo 64s, the Sega Genesis, all that good stuff. Dreamcast, Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah.
I played everything in my years growing up, just pretty much coming up out the Bronx. We did whatever we had to do to stay entertained. So that's really how I got into gaming. The transition to live streaming, though, was because I was really good at Battlefield. Little did I know I was a part of like a competitive team of just super cracked German kids. And I played on EU servers and we would scrim against other European organizations.
Wow.
And
Damn.
I would play a cross ping. It's so silly how like yeah, again, I didn't even realize I was doing competitive, but I was just like, oh yeah, dude, 12v12, let's go. Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I thought I was really good, and that's how I found Twitch. I was like, well, I want to record this stuff. I want to find a way to get this out on the internet and
Sure.
hopefully make it into a machinima montage video. So that's
Hmm.
how I
Wow.
started doing live streaming 10 years ago, man.
Dude,
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's a dad thing, bro.
Yeah, we've had
Mhm.
that
You
as a very
everybody's inspired by
consistent
their dad.
theme.
It wasn't
Yeah.
me, but it's all of you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Everyone that we've talked to for sure has a very strong correlation. Like their dad put them on
I gotta
getting their
start
first
counting this, bro.
console or
Well, for me, it was pretty funny. So it's not that he put me on. It's actually that my dad had a PlayStation and he had just
Mm.
bought Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
He stepped away for a second, and for whatever reason, I picked up the controller and
Mm.
I pressed start, bro. And the moment I turned the corner, the alarm goes off. What did it? And dude, I
Yeah,
froze. My heart dropped. I was like, "What the?" You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it's Metal Gear. It was
Yeah, you were
intense.
so immersed in it.
Like a
Yeah.
whole different
And right
world.
there, I was just like, "What the heck was that? Like, what
Yeah.
game is this?"
Yeah.
So I remember that moment very vividly. Like, that was like a changing point for me, where I was just like, "No,
Mm.
video games are like crazy."
Mm.
Like,
That's
so
sweet.
it became one of my favorite games. Yep, to date.
So you started content creation from the battlefield and kind of getting in that whole world that way.
Yeah.
So was Fort just like a you were a streamer thinking about what's the next big move, and it rose to popularity and you started playing it. How did that kind of come to be for you?
By the time Fortnite came around, I was a career streamer.
Yeah.
I'm one of the earlier partners on the Twitch platform. Like I said, I've been doing this for a
Nice.
long time. So I had already gone through the motions of different game titles, finding success, building
Mm.
my channel up from like zero back to several hundred or thousands of viewers on every game category. So
Mm.
I was super experienced. When Fortnite came around, I was actually hesitant to jump in because I knew I would really, really like the game.
Mm.
The building mechanic and aspect of the game was something that when I saw from the outside looking in, I was like, yo, this is going to be addicting because I
Yeah.
Oh
already
yeah.
liked Rust and I liked Rust a
Mm.
lot because the building, like
Nope.
create a fort, defend the fort.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just like, you get hooked on the process. So I was really hesitant, but that first week, dude, just seeing people like, kind of mess around in the chat talking about it, I'm like, all right, sure, let's jump in. And my first game, I picked up a win. And from that moment
Yeah.
on, I was
Yeah.
like, yo, this is wild. Like I was in it. So
Yeah.
I was,
That's
yeah,
cool.
basically the first week when you had to pay for the game, you had to buy Save the World in
Mm.
order to play.
To play the
Oh,
That's
VR.
how
Yeah.
early I
was
was.
like
So
that.
it was like beta. So
I
that's when I
forgot it
got
was
in. I got in
like
so
that,
early.
bro. Holy
Yeah.
shit. Wait, how much was it? Do you remember?
It was
Do
like
you
40
remember?
bucks. I think it was like
Yeah,
40
Save the World
bucks.
was a
It was pretty
lot,
expensive. It was pretty
bro.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, dude, like I don't know, like 40 bucks for a
Yeah.
beta.
Yeah.
But I knew I was gonna like it. I just knew it.
Mm. Yeah,
So,
I like what you
yeah.
said about the mechanics, because I think most people would agree, like in the competitive scene, that that's kind of the draw, is that it's such a unique set of mechanics, and they're so infinitely complex. Like there's no mastery to it,
sure.
really. I mean, you get like a CS:GO or Valorant or COD or whatever. Like there's such a finite amount of things that you can master, and it's really just who out aims or out moves in a moment. In Fort, it's like, the way I tried to describe it to someone was, it's like chess, but like fast paced chess, where you're interacting with your enemies. Builds and edits are going in places, like you can outsmart them in the moment, and it's such fast, like complex thinking. That was the appeal for me. But I think a lot of people, that they would say that's the draw for them.
Well, I mean, that was kind of the other side. That's what made me realize that okay, this game has longevity to it. Fortnite is, in my opinion, as much as a mechanical game, like you said, as it is a strategy game. I do think, especially early on, it was a strategy game first.
Mhm.
Positioning, the mountaintops, the things that you can do with the builds.
Yeah.
It was a strategy game,
Yeah.
and I knew that pretty much out the gate, because if you played tactically, you would like really be able to convert basically like victories like all day
Mhm.
long. And like my kind of one of my niches, just like if you look at my entire content journey, if you date back to my earliest YouTube videos from 2012, it was teaching people how to play, like whatever
Yeah,
game
yeah.
it was. I just
Yeah.
always I had a knack for it. So even on Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, Kingdom Hearts, like any game I played, I was like, okay, here's how to do this, or here's how to clear this area or this level, or here's a strat that I'm using. So when Fortnite came around, I'm just into strategy games. I was like, dude, this is a strategy game as much as
Yeah.
anything else. So yeah, that's kind of what, like YouTube, I just started posting like how to do this, how to do that. And my first video that actually popped off, my first 100Ks on YouTube, was actually how to snipe. It's just how to snipe
Okay.
101. Because
Yeah,
again, it was that Battlefield stuff that kicked in, because people didn't
Yeah.
understand bullet drop. And like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Battlefield,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like what the game is based on. Like there's bullet travel time. So
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
like a supernatural, and that's how I started competitive really early, and helped build a competitive scene from pretty much out the gate.
Yeah. Vishal, did you have something, or?
No, I was gonna go straight into the casting thing, but I mean, go ahead if you have anything.
Yeah, no, that was just so yeah, obviously, like, your love of competitive, you've been kind of foundational in a lot of the steps of the development of it. So what did when did casting, like, kind of become a part of that? When did you decide that was a lot of the route that you wanted to go down? I mean, you also had like Prac Server, like you were hosting scrims as well, but obviously one of your first big career things in the space was casting.
Yeah, casting for me was a transitional moment. I went from creator to what I looked to become was basically a career, in kind of esports. When the first casting opportunity came to me, it was actually because I already had a successful YouTube channel. I think at the time I was around 100,000 or 125,000 subscribers on YouTube,
Yeah.
and someone from Epic recognize that, oh man, like this kid's got a platform. And when you go through my Rolodex of the types of videos that I did, I mean, I was the perfect kind of creator you want, like tutorial content, news content. And I'm not bashing the game or anything like that, right?
Yeah,
So I was
yeah.
already just an experienced creator at that point. I've been through the motions of like basically, can we curse on this podcast?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
you're good,
no,
you're
no.
good.
I
You're
went
great,
through the
bro.
experience of like, just basically shitting on devs in different
Yeah.
games. Like, I was that guy that would be like, yo, your game fucking sucks. Like, this update is
Yeah,
whack.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
didn't gain anything from that. All I gained was the being blacklisted, being blackballed out of events, where I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, I got, thousands of viewers on Twitch. Like, why are y'all calling me to come, you know what I'm saying? Show up
Yeah,
for
yeah.
XYZ.
Over
But
events,
instead you're
yeah.
supporting these creators. And it wasn't until yeah, just many years into my career that I kind of realized like, oh man, like if I want to make the real money and like, get
Mm,
into these conversations with sponsorships, you got to have
mm,
a brand that they want to work with. And more importantly, you got to respect,
mm.
the hand that feeds. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned that early on. So when I got into Fortnite, I was already a different type of creator. I'm like, I turned
Mm.
it into a business. I was about my money. Um,
Awesome.
so yeah, the first opportunity came around. It was PlayStation Experience. There's a crazy story on how,
Oh
like a
wow.
full circle story on how I basically met the devs from Twitch or from Epic to even get there. Um, but I'll just fast forward past that and just say that yeah, I got a call for PlayStation Experience. It was me, Myth, Dr. Lupo, and City in the Third. Now,
Wow.
mind you, this is before Myth was
Yo.
popular, before Dr. Lupo was popular, and before CD in the Third was like the goat of Fortnite,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
OG highlights, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's crazy how someone from Epic, my good guy KL Smith, he recognized that like we were special
Mm.
creators. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so crazy how
He
Yeah.
had an eye
we all
for
got
it. Yeah.
singled
Yeah.
out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we all went on to do like crazy, like big things basically.
Mm.
So at that event is where I met Golden Boy, who became my first caster duo,
Mm.
freaking
Yo.
homie, all the way up to the World Cup, and
Yeah.
just going through that transition. So yeah, PlayStation Experience, man. I got the call. I remember the offer, dude. They offered me hella thousands of dollars to come out, play Fortnite.
Yo.
All
That's
expenses
awesome.
covered, and I was just like, yo, this is the life. And it was there that I did like a little commentary because there was like a gap in the time, and Zeke was like
Mm.
he needed a break. So me and Golden Boy jumped on the mic. It was my first time casting, and all I did was I was just teaching the game. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
this is why
Right.
building
Right.
is cool. Like, take a look at this. Like, you want to play for high ground, like just
Mm.
simple stuff that at the
Yeah.
Yeah.
time was complicated concepts, but I
Right.
was
Right.
explaining it. So then Golden Boy just reached out to me, and he was like, yo, bro, like you from the Bronx, I'm from the Bronx. Like you came
Mm.
from nothing, I came from nothing, and you know the game, and I know how to commentate like play by play.
That's the
Mm.
We could be a
connection.
sick duo.
Yo.
That's literally what he told me. He said we should be like the two Hispanic
Mm.
homies that do this. Like, let's do it. And I was like,
Yo.
bet. So we called ourselves the Boricua Boys. He's like, yo, let's do it. Like, and that's another
Nice.
thing. We're
That's
both
good.
Puerto
That's
Rican.
good.
Like, we're
Yeah.
both Puerto
Yeah.
Rican kids, from the Bronx. So it was crazy. We hit it off immediately, and that's how he became my duo. And
Mm.
very close friend over the years. But it was at that moment, like, just so many things lined up for me that allowed me
Mm.
to just meet different people and then connect with, make genuine connections and
Yeah.
relationships with different people.
So you
So
lived your whole life in the Bronx.
Yeah, I'm from the Bronx, bro. Born and
Straight out of the
raised, straight
bro.
out the hood, like, as
I mean, yeah, I've heard
man,
stories. I've
bottom
heard
of the
stories,
barrel as
man.
it gets.
Yeah.
Like, I
yeah.
moved out the Bronx when I was 21, and I moved to
Mm.
Dude,
Florida to
I
just focus on me and
right.
yeah, just
Yeah.
really get away from the negativity.
You
I mean, it's a
mentioned
sick
something
comment, bro.
in the coming of that opportunity with PlayStation. You mentioned like how you kind of had to change how you approach things in order to make this a business for yourself.
Yeah.
Where, how, and why, or not why, but how and where do you kind of draw the line between like that, and not getting blacklisted, and is it more being tactful? Like, let's say you disapprove of like an update or something. Is it just kind of the way you go about expressing that? Like, how do you remain authentic while still,
Yeah.
because I think you know what I'm getting
I know
at.
where
Yeah.
you're going. I know
Yeah.
absolutely where you're going. This is something that, I mean, as a creator, as a creative, and as a leader,
Mm.
today, right, I struggle with, because I do have to balance a fine line between
Mm-hmm.
how do I keep my relationships in
Mm-hmm.
place without making their jobs any more harder, but how do I stay authentic to myself and
Mm.
speak up when it has to be spoken, like things have to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
spoken about.
Yeah.
Here's one of my philosophies, if you will, and you
Okay.
can quote me on this.
Mhm.
If you have to think about it, it's probably not worth posting, right? And I
Mm.
say that as in, like, if I'm about to post something and I think to myself, like, if I gotta ask if this is too much, then it's
Mm.
probably already too much. It's probably not worth it.
Mm.
And just going through that mindset alone, I've just avoided a lot of sticky conversations or putting my input in places where maybe you know, getting the negative reaction isn't warranted or isn't worth the time and the energy, right?
Right.
And the other side of it is you can say what you want to say, but it's how you say it. So I've learned to be respectful and diplomatic
Yeah.
about the conversations. And
Yep.
you can see, like, if you look at my timeline, I pick and choose my fights. Like I talk shit when I want to talk shit about things that I'm super passionate about. And then there's times where I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't even say anything about this one thing because people are not going to like what I want. Maybe I have to say. And you know what? Is my opinion that important? No, that's just it's the narcissist, I think, in all of us creators that you want to be a part of the conversation. You think your opinion matters and your ego takes a hold of you. And then you get yourself into stupid conversations where, you know, at the end you think about it as like, yeah, was that worth it? Probably not. You know what I mean? So
Certainly.
I just try to stay super humble, and I really only speak up when I'm ready to go to bat for something. And you know, if you look, you know, I'm not afraid to call people out. I call people out all the time. It just depends on, you know, whether or not I'm in the mood to, you know what I'm saying, talk some shit on the
The way I
timeline.
look at it is like when you get in those types of conversations where it's like, yo, it's not worth the time. It's like, yeah, the time. That's the thing.
I could
like,
give you an example. You want an
go ahead.
example?
Yes,
Go,
please.
go,
Yeah.
go.
Recently,
Give it.
where I got in trouble.
Oh yeah.
And I got in trouble by Epic on this one. And
Okay.
and the funny part is, right before I tweeted, I knew. I was like,
Is this worth it?
It might be a little spicy. Yeah.
I already knew.
Okay.
So it was the DreamHack Dallas last year, right? Stupid Diego wants to go, or
Oh,
who
yeah.
was it? Was it Diego?
Diego plays the fight. Yeah.
Okay, so we all know what happened. So obviously, I was literally right there. Like,
Yeah.
I was there, right? So what does my timeline look like? Dude, it's blowing up. Everybody's talking about it. I knew better that night than to talk about it, though. Like, out the gate, I was like, is it worth it? Absolutely not. Epic's going to be pissed off. You know, I'm not an Epic employee, but like, I represent the brand all the way because I'm the voice and I'm one of the faces of this game, like, period, especially on the formal platform. So I knew better than to say anything. Like, my opinion, it didn't matter. If I talked about it, I'm basically bringing attention to it, which is overall negative, no matter what.
Situation.
It's a lose-lose, right?
It's a lose-lose.
So my stupid self was like, I'll let it chill a couple days. You know, maybe now Epic isn't looking. Now let me say something. And the only thing I had to say was, and this is after they gave their verdict, like the punishment, right? And I'm gonna air quote the word punishment. So all I said was, I don't necessarily agree with the punishment. If it were me, I would classify this as griefing, and I would do X, Y, Z. That's all I said. It's like, you know, I respect your decision, but man, if it were me, I would really, 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 truly consider this griefing. Like, when are we gonna call griefing? Right? That's my question for Epic.
Sure.
And I put that out there, and all I said was like, just basically that. And I'm not gonna say exactly what it says. I don't want to piss them off again. But all I said was, you know, I don't really agree. Here's how I would have punished everyone involved here. I would have slammed this guy, and I would have did X, Y, Z over here.
Yeah.
And that would have just been me. So I knew at that moment, even when I pushed that tweet, like, I was like, yeah, it's been a couple days though, right? Like, I'm good. Nah, bro. I got the call from everyone, like, yo, look, we gotta have a meeting. And then, dude, you know, you sit down with the higher ups, and you end up having that tough conversation where it's like, yo, we love you and we love what you do for this community. But at the end of the day, if it came down to like legal us versus you, you do have to understand, like, it goes beyond how much we care for you, right? And you know, it's like just one of those reality checks where you got to be careful when you play with the fire, right? You can literally get burnt.
Well, because it's not...
Twitter is so important because it is your resume, it's your brand. So yeah, whatever conversations you open it up for both sides, whether it's good or bad. And depending on who you're working with, they could perceive it as, you know, you're a fan in the flames. You're adding toxicity. Even if your opinion isn't that, you're starting a thread, a conversation where toxicity can live.
Well,
so
I mean, obviously, like, Aussie comes to mind as well, you know, in that whole
excellent
situation.
Example of someone who, you know, he's not building a brand that is maybe appealing to, you know, the company that he's working under, right? Or working with. Like, would someone from Epic want to support a wild card like Epic or like Aussie? I mean, let's be honest. His tweets speak for themselves, right? The stuff he says on stream. He's a wild card. It's a brand risk.
No, certainly. So yeah, so I mean, I thought that was an interesting kind of from your perspective, because I think there's like a lot of, you said, there's that egocentric kind of narcissistic approach that a lot of people have, where they can't get out of their own way in the sense of they view their own self-importance and opinions so highly, and I think it gets in the way of so many relationships in the business sense, but also the personal. I mean, I just think I've seen so many situations where people get so in their own head about, oh, like this person's, you know, trying to use me for clout, or like all these things. And
Here's another one. I mean, just recently, I have so much respect and admiration for Reno, who is the CEO of Becoming Legends, right?
yeah.
And I just put my opinion out about an event that he so happened to just be taking part of. It was the Red Bull event, right?
Yeah,
They were
the solo
hosting.
lane,
They were hosting one game an hour. I don't care what the excuses were. All I said was, bro, I don't host tournaments at the start of the season because delays, issues,
and I agree.
and like, who the hell, who thinks it's a good idea to do a game an hour? I don't
I'm
care.
pretty sure I retweeted that because I
care
agree.
about nothing about what you know. All I'm saying, this is how I feel. But what happens? You get all the white knights that want to go and defend Reno, and like all of a sudden they twist this narrative. They see it like, oh, you're attacking this guy, like he's a goat. Like, why are you coming at his? And then all of a sudden I look like the bad guy, and I'm like, bro, all I said was like,
even though it's
I don't host tournaments at the start of the season because I didn't say nothing that was like crazy, but this shows you how like sensitive people are on the internet. Like, where like my simple opinion, and this is one of those moments where, you know, right when I send, I'm like, do I want to, you know, it's a little jab, but it's not like I'm jabbing Reno.
Well, it's more of a constructive criticism than anything. I mean,
like, it's like it's a teaching moment, right? And I use it as a teaching moment for other creators, entrepreneurs, tournament organizers. Like, yo, you got to be careful when you go to market first, because if you do, here's the here's some of the repercussions that come out of that. And I did that. And then, of course, I got a fight out of it. But, you know, I didn't mind. I was ready for that. So I did too.
Yeah.
I feel like people really should add it up. It's like, why does Fortnite not host events when the season starts? It's because they need to fix up competitive changes. So when we don't hold it and then you put out your opinion, it's kind of just matching that.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the viewership experience, it's the game an hour. It's just too slow paced. Like, you're losing the whole value.
Reno and I, we talked about it. He didn't take any hard feelings. He was like,
you
know, in his defense, it was just like, yo, bro, you know, we had this date planned for forever, and then Epic moved the season back. So of course we wouldn't do it. Right. I was like, yeah, I get it. You know, I just wanted to say what I wanted to say. You don't have to explain yourself. I'm not asking you to. I'm just, you know, like, that's it. You know, but like, dude, like I said, people's ego. Like, some people just can't take you know, anything. They get super defensive. And I'm just like, all right, bro. So what's up? You want to do this? Like, what's this for? Like, you know?
Yeah. Well, and Twitter, the arguments are not logical most of the time. They're you know, like you said, like they rope things, or they twist
here's the other
things,
thing.
but
People will come to the defense of the person who's more popular.
Yeah.
Almost 9 out of 10. It's like, oh, do I stand to gain more social value if I stand next to this person's opinion? I'm gonna stand over here. And like, that's why I don't like social media, and this is why I don't affiliate myself with really anybody. If you look at the circle of people I associate with, my timeline is as tight as it gets.
Yeah.
It's me and my business and the things that I build. And this is why I build and I don't follow any trends, because these trends are garbage, and people just want to dick ride everyone that's already successful and try to associate themselves with other people's success when you are not being successful yourself.
So it's the way I see it is, like, people side with Reno not only because he's known as the most popular person at this time period. It's also because he hosted the event. Like, it was like
it's
the
like,
first
what do you stand to gain for standing with this person? Because anyone could have also easily just been like, oh, dude, like, I see Monster's opinion. Like, I didn't say anything wrong, right? People made the conversation to paint me out like I'm way wrong and I'm doing something I absolutely wasn't, right? And again, I bring this one up because that was probably my most recent like toxic conversation that I sparked on my timeline, which I aim for one a month. So if you look at like almost I do on purpose.
Hitting your quotas.
You know, I understand it. Like, you know, I still play the game. I play the game. I know what it's like. You know, you want to be in a conversation, even if it's good or bad, whatever. And I don't really, you know, do a lot of Twittering. So, you know, I jump in here and there. And I pick when I'm going to talk a little bit of smack. Like, but it wasn't, again, it was nothing against Reno. Reno's my boy. I
Yeah.
love and respect him. If he
Oh,
ever,
yeah.
if he hit me up tomorrow, he needed $50,000 for whatever reason, you know, I'd be like, I'll look out for you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how much I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
respect his grind, his hustle, like whatever. Like I'm, I go to bat for the people that I think are legitimate, and that's a legitimate person, bro. I would never, yeah, disrespect him or
Yeah, that
anyone
wasn't
that
that
he
wasn't the
ever
vibe I
respected.
got from that tweet at all. It was
Yep.
it was
was
more
just a part
about
of
this
it,
is how you do
yeah.
this. This is a constructive criticism of I think this event could have been better and here's why.
That's all
But
it was.
I mean that, you know, like I said, I'm a philosophy major. Like I'm all about like how do we, you know, argue, you know, our points logically. Let's keep it on the topics of conversation. Like, and that just doesn't happen on Twitter. And you know, I think like Bucky more recently and all the
Oh Lord.
controversy that he sparked. I think that what you were saying about people are just going to side with the popularity comes to mind because
100%.
I've expressed a couple of opinions here and there in regards to things that he said. Which really, like in my view, I mean, obviously, still I hold the opinions of like, yeah, I'm completely in the right here, but you know, there are people. There will always be people. If that person has a platform at all, there will always be people that run to their defense very quickly. Clicks is another one. Clicks has turned it around, like to his credit, much. And I tweeted something about, I think it was SBG actually that said something about Clicks using his platform for good now. But you know, I've hounded on him before for the influence that he's been on the younger generation, and
Sure.
and you know, but every time I say that, every time that keyword is in any of my tweets, you know, you best believe there are 20 little Fortnite Timmies coming at me, saying how dare you and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I respect his success, but I also think he could be better, and here's why. I think he could make better use of his platform and things of that nature. So, you know, but yeah,
SBG, bro.
dude,
love
well,
that.
so I actually wanted to talk about all the casters because all the casters, like, they're very much in that same boat that you are. They are very very careful about their brand. They're you know, pretty positive. They keep everything tight. Like we've had Lash and SVG now, and you know, just kind of looking at their Twitters and whatever. Like both of them are very very good about being you know, not too controversial, not too out there. Like their brand is very solid. And just casters in general, and that's kind of just part of the job. Like they know that, hey, this is what I need to do to maintain my career and make sure that I'm, you know, building the proper thing. So kind of going back to casting, so you started with the PlayStation event, and then how did that develop into like World Cup? You know, how did we get to there? Because that anniversary was just today or yesterday.
I
4
know,
years for that.
this entire weekend. Yep, this entire last 3 days. Awesome time, man. It was definitely a highlight, and I knew it was going to be a highlight too. I have so much footage that I actually haven't released from the World Cup skirmish. I'm just banking like all types of nostalgic dope footage, and there's a little bit of a side note, but the reason I didn't drop it was because, you know, I'm again, like I really don't like social media that much. Like I don't know how
I don't blame you, bro.
I don't know how I
don't
got to a
blame you.
position where like
Yeah.
I have influence on social medias. I really don't like it. Like I try not to post things for like the, you know, the impressions, if you will. Like if I wanted likes, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I got videos of Benji Fisher, like I could have just dropped them that week. Like
Sure.
I was standing next to Benji Fisher, bro, give me some likes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
to me
yeah.
that was it's more like private stuff. But anyways, one day I'll share it because I think it'd be cool to share now.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Look back
But like
on
at
it
the
at least,
time, I
yeah.
didn't because I'm like, dude, like I don't really care about your likes. Anyways,
Yeah.
World Cup was
to get
4 years ago.
I'm gonna answer your question though. To get to World Cup, PlayStation experience, like I said, I met Golden Boy and that connection point comes in handy later, and I'm gonna get to that in like 2 points. So Summer Skirmish happens. This is like Epic finally deciding, okay, Fortnite's a successful game. We did the PlayStation experience, which is like a super humble booth, and tons of people showed up for that. But like by the time Summer Skirmish came around, like the weekend, Fortnite Friday was the first time Epic ever hosted a friendly Friday, right? It was that friendly event where Sikaros and Hamlin's and Daquan, like that's when like Double Pump first came out, and like Hamlin's proved like, bro, this guy was disgusting, and Sikaros was crazy, and that's like the first TSM roster that was signed. Like people don't even know the history of like how this all happened, how people were scouted, but that weekend was wild. Like I realized really quickly, like I was already playing professionally right there, but I realized really quickly, like, bro, I barely got top 15. Like these dudes in the top 10 are like just nuts. Like they were like so far ahead of me
on a different level. Yeah.
So then Summer Skirmish comes around, and Epic is looking for some talent for the broadcast. So like I said, I already had the Rolodex of like a successful YouTube channel. I had a great connection point built at the PlayStation Experience. I reached out to someone that I had met over there, and I was just like, hey, look, just throw my name, back in the ring. Like, I had a fun event. But yeah, if you guys ever need anyone, I see what you guys are building. Like, I'd love to jump on. Like, I have some clout too. And before me, they had like, I think Cypher PK, Nick A30, and those guys were like kind of like on their blow up. Like, especially Nick. So I felt a little, not that I had imposter syndrome, like, damn, bro, like but I was by far a much smaller creator than those two were, especially at that time I got called back. But I knew I had something special because my feedback from like the community, like this is when Reddit, like Fortnite comp Reddit was like lit, like it was so nuts. Like everyone on Reddit was like, yo, who's this monster guy? Like this dude is like dropping mad knowledge. Like we need more of this. And then like I started playing into that, like, oh dude, like that's exactly what I want to do. So I was probably the first creator, like Fortnite creator that they brought on that was actually teaching the game and not just like, oh yeah, that's a cool, you know what I mean? Like just kind of mindlessly wandering a conversation. So I did that week, and then I got called back again like 2 weeks later. So that's when I knew like, oh, they really like me. Like literally, like they probably never got feedback the way that weekend's feedback went. Like this kid right here is teaching the game. Like we need this. Like Fortnite's a complicated game. Like he's literally teaching the game. We need more of that. So they brought me back, and then they called Golden Boy for Winter Royale, and Golden Boy is the one who called me and was like, yo, I don't care what you guys do. If I'm doing Fortnite, I need a cast with that Puerto Rican kid. Like I want him to cast with me, Winter Royale. And after that, the rest is history. I got a call that same night of Winter Royale. They were like, yo, do you want to go to South Korea? Like, we have an event going on over there. We need somebody to pull up. Like, you down? I was like, bet. And I took my passport. I went straight after that. I went to South Korea, killed that event. So I was just like on fire. Like my whole trajectory was going crazy. But I knew early on, like, casting is like a career. Like I'm building a skill set, like public speaking, conversational, like all that camera presence. Like there's so much that goes into it that I knew from that moment, like, and the money was crazy. Like, you think like you're streaming and you work your ass off, you're streaming sun up to sundown, hoping like you get subs, donate, like no one owes you anything, right?
You're
like,
relying on charity.
When you're when you're getting commentary paychecks, you're like, bro, we're guaranteeing you. I'm not going to throw some rates out there, but I'm still going to throw some rates out there, but like $4,000 a day, 3 days a weekend, and we're going to pay for the days you fly. Now all of a sudden you're making $20,000 to do what? To talk about some Fortnite? Sign me up, bro. Right? And you got to work your way up, of course, to those big numbers, which obviously I'm at now, but like at the time, like just when you just started doing the math, I'm just like, this is crazy. Like I need this. So it changed my life forever. And I knew at that moment, like, I'm building something that they can't take away from me. This is a skill set. If I move to a different game, like my resume is going to look crazy good. So I was just in it and I focused on it. And hopefully I got pretty good,
I like that you mentioned that, like,
hopefully.
I like that you mentioned that the idea of building career and maintain and like realizing that your skill sets are not just a temporary thing. It's not just like a, like where the difference that switch that you flip between hobby or passion and then career. Because there are a lot of people, I think, in this space, especially where they're doing this. Like I got on an org a couple months ago. I'm on Pipeline and like I'm doing the work in that. And like that for me, it was very strategic. I'm like, I want to learn different positions. I'm trying to do as much as I can to build these valuable skills to be a better asset to an org or a company or whatever down the line. But there's so many people in the same space that are like, oh, I'm just doing it like it's for my friends or for fun or like, and that's not, I'm not knocking on those people. If that's what you want to do, like I respect that. But I think there are people who kind of try and play a little bit both sides where they're not putting in the work or they're not treating it as if they're building skills for a career, who also want that out of the future, and they're just kind of hoping for some lottery ticket type thing, and I'm like, that's just not how it goes. So I think that attitude is really important, and esports is a great industry for that, because you can go out, you can say, I'm interested in this, I'm gonna go be self-taught, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna like look into the community around me and learn as much as I can and get as much knowledge and gain this as much as I want to know about this career. and I'm just gonna make it happen for myself. But you really do. You have to kind of work your own full-time job in it for that to do it. But you got to have that mentality first.
Yeah, so that's actually how I turned Practice Server into a full-time business. It was right after the World Cup. So I got called for the World Cup. Obviously, the World Cup run was ridiculous. Like 10 weeks of qualifiers.
Yeah.
I was flying out to the studio in California every weekend to go do a World Cup qualifier for the entire weekend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you do the math. I'm getting paid for 4 days for 10 weeks, not including the LAN World Cup, not including the pro-ams. Like by the end of that, my running joke to people was like, yeah, I won the World Cup too, bro. Like, you know, like that's literally what I told them. Like, yeah, you know, I came like top 5, top 10, something like that, you know? Like I was like, bro, I was killing it. Like, but that was like how much work was involved. Like it was so stressful. So I'm riding this ridiculous wave, the World Cup, right? World Cup finishes. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but like right after the World Cup, like Epic went radio silent. There was no events. It was like literally peak World Cup. Articles coming out everywhere, and everyone's wondering like, yo, like, okay, what's next? There was no announcement.
Well, I
mean, it was silent all the way up till TwitchCon. So think about it from my perspective. Like I've up until this moment, I was a full-time creator for like 5 or 6 years, streaming every single day. Like I have over 200,000 plus followers on Twitch. Like people don't understand like how hard it is to get there. The relationships I built, how many 100%. Games I went through, how many years I put into this. Like I was a career creator. I gave up my streaming position to be your caster, right? Like for Epic. And then they just stopped hosting events. So building up my channel for those couple months, like I was kind of afraid for my career. I'm like, yo, like I just killed my Twitch career and that's it. Like they're not hosting events. Like what the hell? Luckily for me, TwitchCon, there was the TwitchCon LAN event. Shout out to Morgazi. You guys remember that clip? Freaking wins, you know, 220,000. Like that whole entire weekend was nuts. Tfue and Cloaksy win, you know, kind of their thing. Like, you know, like that was still a part of all that craziness. So I think Morg won PAX West and then Tfue and Cloaksy won TwitchCon, whatever the duos. But I got called for that. So I got to do a LAN commentary there. So like, but that's how long the gap was. It was like 2 or 3 months. Like one event. And that's from doing like every weekend. Like I know I'm good. It's all of a sudden like, well, I hope I save some money, right? Because like now I'm not really making it. I'm back to that like Twitch revenue, like the regular stuff. That I basically gave away though. Like my community shrunk so much because I was traveling. So that was the inspiration for me launching Practice Server. Because the way I saw it was, I will never put myself in a position again where I'm waiting for that check
Epic,
to come back to me for them to hire me. I need to be able to hire myself. So how do I become the guy who hosts the big tournaments and bring in the big money and the big sponsors and pay people the way I'm being paid today? So that's how I launched the Practice Server. That's how it happened, you know, 3-4 years ago.
I love that you talk
right there.
I love that you talk about that because that's a position that I've been in a lot more recently. I've had to learn this same lesson. You know, I got a couple of ventures going on, and I'm branching into multiple. I mean, they're full blown businesses essentially. I mean, I'm starting, you know, a couple and being an entrepreneur in different spaces because I'm in the same. I'm like, I can't be relying on, you know, YouTube rev, Twitch rev, whatever. I need something that's consistent. I need something where, you know, like you said, where I can employ myself, where my paycheck is how hard am I working? What opportunities am I creating? And I'm not relying on other people for that. It's, you know, I'm building something that is self-sufficient in that sense. I love you talk about that because I think that is a future for creators where you're dipping into multiple things. I mean, where you're, you know, learning as many high value skills as possible to make yourself an asset wherever you go. You know, I'm close friends with Peter Bot's manager, C Mills, and he and I talk about that a lot. He's learning how to edit and things of that nature. Like he's expanding his skill set for the sake of being a better asset to whoever he manages in the future, or just wherever he ends up in esports. You know, even if he lost all his clients, he'd have enough to be able to manage a company's, you know, social media or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I love that you mentioned that, because I think that's an important step for creators at this point, because we're seeing, like, with Twitch and Kick and the whole creator ecosystem, all these talks of like, oh, we need different revenue splits and whatever, and Kick even wanted to, rumors of that hourly wage stuff and all that. Like, it is like, yeah, there are other things you need to be doing. I think Epic Whale is a great example of building something out of your temporary success and your your limelight, like building a business that's successful out of that. That now is self-sufficient. Yes, it started with, oh, I want to buy Epic Whale's mousepad, and now it's, oh, I love their mousepads. I mean, I have 2 of them. I love them. I don't know if I'll use another company.
And the thing is, like, when you're a creator and you're riding that, that successful high, you're like the way I call it, or the way I see it, is like, these waves come and go, right? Like, you're gonna get your high tide, and then you're gonna get a low tide.
Yeah.
And you pretty much have to be ready for them all. When you're riding that high tide, that's not the moment to ease up on the gas pedal. Like, that's where you have to be going real hard, because when everything settles down, you need to be several steps above where you started before that, so you are ready for the next high tide, so you can go even harder and you go even bigger, because it really is just momentum. That's how it works. And I've seen I've seen crazy opportunities like happen right in front of my eyes, and reach out and try to do the due diligence to even work with people, and then turn me down, and then not take advantage of the situations that could have been. I can give a great example of one, which to this day I'm really upset that we didn't work something out. Remember, like, Zexro, Unknown Army, Ops One, like this whole crew, like the 1X team. When they came out and they launched 1X as his own separate little entity and brand, bro, like, they were like, I reached out immediately. I was like, yo, I don't know if you guys know what you're doing right now, but you are onto something like so special. Like, you have the community, like the Fortnite community, like hooked. Like, this is like chronic. This is like chronic V2. Like, this is like, you guys could be the next chronic. I was like, and I reached out to them. I straight up like offered them, like, yo, tell me how much you want. Like, let me buy a piece of this, and let me help lead you guys to become a business. Like, let's bring in sponsors. Like, I had practice server, we could host events. Like, we have marketing, like, we do all types of stuff. I was like, together, it's crazy. Like, you have all the clout in the world that we need to like take this to a whole new level. And it never turned into anything. It was just like, oh yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Now, and then it died. And then they just let it die.
It
and
tanked so fast too. Yeah.
It became like Unknown Army's like handle or something, I think, because he got banned for scamming crypto stuff. But anyways, like, or some stupid, you know what I mean? The shortcut.
Yeah.
Like, that's my whole point though. You like, it's the shortcut, the fast cash, instead of building something for the longevity, like the bigger picture. So, and I've seen so many things like that come and go before me. And that's just one of the few that I like hard reached out. Like, I wanted it so bad, as I was like, dude, I would love to be a part of like a real org, own a piece of it, and build this up to be something super sick, and apply like my business skills, but it just didn't happen.
I wanna quickly kick back to the whole casting, the like land casting and all that. So this is actually a really good question, because I didn't actually write this down, but what's the difference of like either your emotions, physically, whatever it is, of casting like a major event? So let's say like an FNCS major, or like anything that's an online tournament, in comparison to a LAN event. Like, what type of emotional distress is there in between those?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've gotten to the point to where, like, I don't get nervous, right? Like, to do the job. Like, I know I could do the job. So that's really cool to get to the point to where, like, I'm so confident, bro. You could hit me like in the last moment and be like, yo, we got to talk about Gillette. Like, please, 30 seconds. Don't say anything wrong. Here's your 3 bullet points, or, you know what I mean? I'm just going to be like, all right, June 15th, like, I'll be able to just literally hit those beelines. So, like, I've gotten to that point, which is really cool, because there was a time where, like, they're like, yo, so you're going to intro the show. Like, here's what you got to say. And like, my knees shaking, like, before we walk out. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, shit, like, you know what I mean? They're counting you down 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, go. You know what I mean? Like, and you're so nervous. So the difference between a LAN and like remote events is it's so night and day. When you're in person, I mean, it's just so different. Like, like, for me, at least for me, this is how I feel. I have a different level of swagger. Like, I feel good. I feel even more confident. Like, I feel like this show's not about me, but like, hell yeah, like, I am a part of this like amazing product that's about to happen. So like, just that dopamine that kicks in is crazy. It's a high that you can only feel from being in that moment and knowing what it's like to know that those cameras are on you, and whatever you say is written in stone forever, and
That's literally what I was
everyone
gonna
is watching
say.
it. And it's so incredible. Like, it's such an incredible feeling, and being able to do that and deliver correctly. Like, if you listen to the FNCS Global Championship, the one that happened last year, like, listen to the call outs, like when we introducing Reed.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And like,
yeah.
we only had one chance to like do
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but like you're rehearsing for that moment, and it felt incredible to be able to say those things that we were able to say and like really deliver it. And then
Yeah.
obviously the gameplay speaks for itself. Like,
Dude,
you know,
I was, I was
would
gonna say,
did I know Cammy and Seti were gonna like, you know, get contested by Cuisinvino and like,
No,
nah, but
that
like, you know, I just
that
screamed
moment.
that whole moment. Like,
So
you know what I mean? That's just raw emotion. Like, I don't
Yeah.
even know, like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
none of it's
I was
scripted, but
I was
you
just
hope
about to
it's
bring
good.
up.
Like, you
Yeah, I
hope
was
it's
just about to
good.
bring up an Invitational, because Invitational I went and you talk about your extra swagger. You I mean, I remember that last day specifically, going into the last 6 games. Yeah, I mean, actually, let me give me 2 seconds, because I have a surprise for you. But
Oh, bet.
well, okay, while he does that, I was gonna say, so, dude, the way I was thinking about it when you were talking was like, bro, when you're on, like, let's say the Fortnite broadcast, when you're on Twitch, it's like, yeah, tens of thousands of people are watching you live, but when you're IRL, it's tens of
I
thousands of
came up
people are
to
watching
you
you
In
live.
right
person,
before
Yeah.
right before day 2 started, and you did this for me. I'll
Oh,
show the
some
camera.
graffiti on the
You did
t-shirt.
the custom graffiti
Yeah.
signature for me. But I mean,
Yes,
this
sir.
was
Yes, sir.
literally less than 5 minutes before the broadcast was about to start. But you were up on your little platform. I remember it was right next, off to the right of the stage and all of that. Like, you had the crane coming right over you, but like, and people were talking to you. You were giving out signatures and whatever. And I asked you a couple of things, like words of advice and whatnot. But no, I mean, you did. You just had this, like, man, I was like, man, this guy he's just living in the moment. He knows what he's doing. Like,
Yeah,
and I
it's
mean, that you would even be willing to talk to people that close to the show. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get him right now. Like, I'll wait till later. But
see, so it's really cool that you're able to kind of share that experience, because like, you know, it's literally those moments that, like, you know, we work so hard for, right? And even just like in your journey as like a creator, like, you almost like dream of the day where like someone cares enough to like walk up to you and want to have a conversation with you, because it's you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I do like genuinely just feel so lucky to be in the position that I'm in, because, you know, obviously I work really hard, but that impact that resonates, that
Yeah.
you know, people like yourself to want to come up and just be like, yo, nah, like, I got to get this guy to sign my shirt, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And you know, like, you kind of have that fear of rejection sometimes too, right? Where it's like, damn, like, is this guy gonna talk to me?
Sure,
But then
sure.
you find out like, oh shit, like, he's really just
Yeah.
down to earth. Like, that was awesome. Like, those moments, yeah, I live for those moments, man. I love them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I use every opportunity to connect with people, chat. Like, you know, I really want to make it a impactful moment, a memorable one. And I
Yeah.
try to, again, teach at every single opportunity. So
Yeah.
I'm happy I gave you advice. I don't know what I said,
Dude,
but
I
hopefully
no,
was
I mean,
something
I
that
did.
made you
I
feel
asked
good.
you, a
know?
few things. But I mean, honestly, like, you were a big part of what I built since then. I mean, I since then I got on an org, and
Good.
so I made a ton of connections at Invitational. That was massive for it. Networking is such a massive thing, and
I mean,
lands are so great for it. But
And it's not just lands, you know, where I'm gonna show up. Like, I mean, I showed up to this podcast, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't give you any friction. You asked me, you want to join? I said sure. But
Yeah,
I said
yeah.
yes. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
absolutely. Next
Yeah.
week, let's do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm all about giving back, being, again, very much a part of this community, and
Yeah.
supporting everything and anyone that's trying to build. Like, that's what I like to do.
We appreciate
yeah.
that, bro.
I
We
use
genuinely
my
appreciate
platform
that.
to help
Yeah.
do that too.
Yeah.
And this is very much like, yeah, a testament to that. Like, hell yeah, like, I'll jump on your podcast.
I
Like, we'll
mean,
talk about whatever.
bro, one of the reasons like I genuinely like was excited for this podcast specifically is because, you know, like, you were on the Brandon's podcast with Arab and Edwin, and when I watched that, bro,
Like,
I'm telling
after that, the
yeah.
air became my guy after that.
I'm
Like,
telling
Yeah.
you, I think I've watched that 4 times over,
Yeah.
fully through, from
Love it.
Spotify, YouTube, all that.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
genuinely love it. Because the thing is, like, you guys went really off topic from not just casting, but like your life and before. And that's what I was going to talk about and get into was like your life in the Bronx, like the whole graffiti thing. And I
Mhm.
wanted to ask like a really, really like controversial. I guess you could say controversial, kind of not. But did the city that you like grew up in, so the Bronx, like wherever it was in the Bronx, did that make an influential change on the character that you became like today, even if it's online world
million-
and whatnot?
1,000,000%. Arab can tell you firsthand, like when he went to the Bronx,
Mm.
that place is grimy. Like it's pretty,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough. Like it's
Yeah.
not it's not a pretty place like for your
Yeah.
average anyone who grew up in any kind of nice area. And Arab actually, when he was there, I sent him on a little manhunt. He went looking for my graffiti, and he found some of my
Okay.
real graffiti, like in person,
That's
while live on
awesome.
Twitch. And I have some
Yeah.
dope photos of like Arab standing next to some of my art.
Yeah.
Just to kind of like just how authentic like my life really was about that graffiti
Yeah.
stuff. So if
Yeah.
you heard the story on the Branders podcast, and
Oh,
I forgot which
100%.
one I told over there, but I have so many. I have so many, but I'm
Dude,
sure it
I don't
was
remember. I watched this like
some crazy chase
year
or
and a
something
half
that
Yeah.
ago.
happened.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, to answer your question, like how did it change me? How did it adjust me? It did everything to mold my character.
Mm.
I'm someone
100%.
who, if you look at the messaging that I put on socials, it has everything to do with who I am, like as a person. Like I don't take
Right.
shortcuts. Also, don't take shit from nobody. I don't expect
yeah.
anyone to owe me anything. I
Mm.
come to every conversation with the utmost level of respect. I appreciate every opportunity that's put before me because I know I'm not guaranteed anything from anyone. Right? These are all like
Mm.
real lessons that you grow up through conflict, through interactions, learning
Yeah.
how to, read a room, navigate a conversation, navigate the way you walk down the street because,
Yeah.
doing the wrong thing, acting a little oblivious to your surroundings will literally walk you into a violent situation in the hood.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
you don't even realize you just walked into, here's a great example. You didn't even realize maybe you're in a dangerous area in that corner store that you thought you're just going to walk into. All of a sudden you walk in there and there's like 10, 15 like real goons or real homies that like this is where they chill. And now you're all of a sudden an outsider in their world. Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing here? Right. And you need to be able to understand the kind of environment that you're in. Right. So, yes, these are things that molded me. How do I apply them today? It really just comes down to, again, at the end of the day, like, yeah, just being super, just keeping it real, just keeping it
Oh
simple.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not here for anyone's attention. I'm not here to seek anyone's validation. I'm
Mm.
just here to do my thing and
Yeah.
build.
I wish
Right.
I remember the story that you told on the podcast because I very vividly remember I was on a hike and listening to it on Spotify. I was
I
really
think it definitely probably had to do with the one where I messed up my knees. And I was
yeah.
getting
Mm.
chased and I had to jump off a train
Yeah, it was
station.
a chase. That's what it was. That's what
I
it
got a
was.
lot of chase stories. That's one
It
of my
could
most
be.
memorable ones because it impacted my life like literally
Mm.
physically
100%.
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
So that's a crazy one. But yeah, I got some sick stories, man.
No,
I've I lived that graffiti life for like 4 years. Like it's
no,
everything.
I didn't
Oh,
know
yeah.
that. Like,
The only thing I cared about.
Invitational is where I learned that about you. Is that like that where DFace came from and like and all that.
Yeah.
And that you did that. I mean, I love that you
So
keep
I
to your
guess I
roots
should
with
explain
that.
that for the listeners just real quick.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Monster deface for defacing properties. So like I'm a graffiti artist.
Yeah.
So when I got onto Twitch and like I created my first username, I mean I never expected to find
Yeah,
popularity or anything.
Yeah.
So when I chose my name, it was just because literally that's what people call me,
Yeah.
deface, like
Yeah.
defacer, like
Yeah.
so the monster deface.
But it's
I
got
do
a
little
piece of who you
monsters.
are now. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just that's just kind of a beautiful like you stick to your roots and
But
it's in your
even though-
name now. Like
but
it's a
even though that's like the roots of his name, nobody knew that till
No,
the
yeah.
podcast, till invitation. Like nobody went for the assumption, oh, what does this stand for? Like
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
asked.
A
I
lot of
mean-
people still don't, right? Like
No,
how
Yeah.
100%.
how can I just like as a creator, like how can you really you never there's not enough time in the day to show everyone like and it's
Yeah.
just for every single creator out there, like everything about that person,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You just
Right,
learn
right.
it
Yeah.
through the years, like
Yeah.
a piece here, a piece there, you start to pick up and then you
Yeah,
form like,
yeah.
your own opinion and you start to, figure out what this person's all about. So, I mean, there's plenty the internet doesn't know about me. Like I said, I don't share it
Mm.
too much
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm not really the type of person who seeks validation online. So,
Mm.
it it's not hard to
There's a
find out
friend
stuff
that-
about me, but it's not like I'm out there like, oh yeah,
It's not like you're gonna be
Today-
saying
Sure.
it. Yeah.
today I did this awesome thing for someone. Like, let me
Yeah.
tweet about it.
Yeah.
Like that's not
Yeah.
who I am.
One of the things I respected most was I think it was semi recently. It was that I forgot what it was. It was that piece of advice you gave in that video, the little trailer. It was like a minute 30, 2 minutes long on Twitter. It
Yeah.
was sick. I found that really cool because it's like it's not you trying to like showboat. It's not you trying to say anything about your life, like expressing today I did this, blah blah blah, like you were saying. It was literally you just giving back to the community, just expressing what you think on certain topics in this community, and like
Mm.
not undervaluing other people's opinions, not undermining other people's opinions. It's literally just expressing who you are.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what I really love to do with my brand. If you
Yeah.
look at like what my brand has become, because I don't post any gaming content. Like I stopped creating like
Yeah.
clips and that kind of stuff a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use it as a place to just show people like, yo, this is some like crazy thing that I was able to be a part of or like help build, and I'm luckily able to share, because a lot of our clients just don't want you to share that. You can't take responsibility for like you doing that thing for them. That's part of the what comes with being a white label company. Like we're not able to really take, again, accountability for some of the stuff that we do. It's always like their brand. So yeah, when I get opportunities to give people like a different perspective on something, or like kind of prepare someone for like a situation, like I try to share those learnings in different ways that I can. And I think the video you're talking about was where I said something along the lines of like, when the music stops, you need to be ready to grab a chair. Like, and basically all we're saying is like, enjoy the moment, of course, like, build, do what you have to do. But when things start to slow down, when stuff starts to take a turn, or the headwind is moving in different direction, you really got to be able to be prepared for those moments, and be ready to shift, or grow, or just whatever, take a step back and let things play out, and then come, and it can be your moment again. But yeah, I'm always sharing like kind of I think more thoughtful ideas and stuff like that, because it's what I enjoy to do.
Yeah.
It's really has nothing else to do with anybody else. There's not a lot of people that do that, I think, in Fortnite either. So
no,
I do hope
definitely
like
not.
it's at least a fresh breath of air when you go on them. You never see me complaining really on Twitter. Like there's enough of that out there. So.
There's too much of it out there, bro.
There's
No,
too
I-
much of that out there. I was like, all right, whatever.
Bringing intellectualism to Fort is something that I've been passionate about as well. I mean, being a philosophy major growing up, I was a youth pastor for a few years too, and I feel like I'm doing the same thing, honestly, being in the Fort scene now. I mean, you see these young kids getting so much success that they are not ready for. I mean, 99% of them, they just don't know what they're doing, with hundreds of thousands of viewers, and money being just chucked at them, and all that stuff. So I mean, I think it's a lot of the reason, like, I look up to you, because you've made so much success and you've built successful businesses, but also because you've always been a figure in the community, and a role model in that sense as well. And that I mean, there's a handful of you guys, you, Cypher, Ozzy, there's a lot of those older guys who kind of built everything and are in these positions of influence, that have done a really good job, I think, of as best as they can with the Fort audience. But
I would say I think Cypher is one of my favorite ones, though, and mostly because of like his entrepreneurial spirit, like what you see him building with Oni Studios, and like all that stuff is just crazy. Like, it's so smart too, right?
Yeah.
And it's smart because he has the platform to do it. Like, if I had as many followers as him, I would 1,000,000,000% be crushing it as hard as he has, right? Like, you know what I mean? And like going that hard. So I really love that he does that, even though he's so big. Like, he's gotten to the point to he's probably wealthy forever, but it doesn't stop there because he's wealthy. It's just starting, right? Because he loves to build and like be that creator and be that forward facing person. So I absolutely love. I think of all the creators, like especially in Fortnite, he's probably my favorite one because of like his passion to build, and Nick Merckx as well, another person who's just like super, like, people just, it's so underrated what he does when it comes down to providing back and using his platform to build a platform, not just be a streamer.
Yeah. Well, speaking of building, I mean, I really want to touch on Prac Server specifically.
Sure.
And building, like, it started as a Scrim Discord, but now you guys are a business that offers your services for tournament administration, like you did Invitational. You've done some really other high caliber events. So how did that kind of transition happen? Where did that idea come from? And how, like, because I think you kind of said like it went along with the casting, and you kind of realized like, oh, I need some stability in what I'm doing here. I need to build something. So where did that all come from?
Yeah, so it The idea started out of fear of not having a livelihood in the esports
Mm.
space anymore. It was shortly, like I said, after World Cup. Epic wasn't hosting any events, and it was just such a rude awakening for me. Like
Mhm.
it was a wake up call. Like, yo, you gotta get on your your 2 feet and start doing something. You can't sit around and wait until someone calls you to be a caster. One, it's probably not affordable for every kind of company. Like, yeah, Epic can do it because they are now a multi-billion-dollar company. Of course,
Yeah,
they can
yeah.
offer you, but like, where else is these opportunities going to come from? And that's kind of like what I started, started rattling my brain a little bit. So yeah, like I was always a part of the Fortnite community. Obviously, I was there when we were counting down to scrim up. 10, 9, 8,
Yeah.
7, 6, 5, 4, 2, press
Yeah.
start. Like I was part of literally scrim snipes. Like I was there. I helped build in those spaces in those times. But practice server and open scrims, like people don't even realize, like I named open scrims open scrims. It used to be T1 scrims. So
Mm.
when I came into like the scrims, I wasn't leading it, right? It was already
Mm.
there. Like the community was already doing it. Like Zate started practice server, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and then he retired. But when I came in more as like a guardian, a protector,
Mm.
because I was like, yo, do you guys realize like T1 scrims is like getting all this brand promotion? Like, what are they giving you? And the answer was empty promises, a whole bunch of nothing,
Yeah.
and no money for the tournaments that they said they were gonna. They were always saying, "Hey, yeah, we're gonna get there, we're gonna do," but instead they're just literally taking advantage. And I
Mm.
didn't like that at all. So
Yeah.
I came in, I asked a couple tough questions, and the answers I got, I basically did not like. And at that moment, I knew it was going to be my responsibility to basically fight for the community and
Mm.
call these people out for being like straight up scammers. That's how I
Mm.
saw it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe not scammers. Maybe scammers is not the word, but they were predatory
Mm.
and malicious in the way that they were manipulating people that didn't know any better to
Mm.
utilize all this platform and this clout, that
Right.
this attention, right?
Yeah.
That was so
Right.
special, and it was all done through volunteer work. So I came in, I legitimized practice server, I legitimized open scrims. I was like, hey, look, this is your ultimatum. You're gonna give us XYZ, or we're gonna do our own thing. And I just rebranded it. I built it from the ground up. I put my money up to get the LLC in place, get the all the graphics, the artwork, and just really
Mm.
put the structure behind the business. All inspired because there was no events happening. So that's where
Yeah.
we started. How we got to where we are today, like one event at a time, man. Right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh
just
yeah.
being
Yeah.
ambitious, working hard, and trying to build the best products possible. So, but it really just comes down to, like, I'm just such a stand-up person. Like, a lot of these entities love to work with me.
Mm.
Um, just even recently, I'm not gonna say who, but because I'm not that kind of person, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you ever see me call someone out on social media, just know, like, they had to do some stupid
That's
shit.
beautiful.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta really, you gotta be a complete moron to get on my bad side. So I'm
Yeah.
like I'm so like understanding. I feel like at
Mm.
times, like I keep it real. Like, you keep it real with me, and I could, I'd love to reciprocate that. So, anyways, I'll tell you guys just a little brief insight where, like,
Mm.
any other, most, like 99%, I think, of social media would, like, they run to social media to go, like, be the first one to complain about something or call somebody out, because
Mhm.
they want that me too attention. You know what I mean? Like, they just
Mm.
want to be in those conversations, and they seek those thrills. But I had a company that basically owed me hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I
Mm.
didn't even call them out on socials for that. I called my lawyers, bro, and we, what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
handle business
Right.
like that, and I got my money. But, like, that company is willing to work with me still because I didn't go and destroy their reputation, drag them through the mud. Because
Sure, sure.
how do I see it, bro? There's still more money to be made. What kind of person do I look like if your entity
Mm.
can't deliver XYZ for whatever reasons? We'll figure out those reasons, but it looks bad on me because how's the next person supposed to trust me? What kind of person am I if I'm the person who goes to social media? They're just gonna be like, well, shit, if shit hits the fan, Monster's just gonna go to Twitter, and now look, we got to deal with that, right? Instead, like being stand up, not being so public, not really caring about what the public thinks about certain things. Understand that some stuff is okay to be handled in private matters has helped, I think, build my reputation in the space. And dude, like, a lot of people really respect me because I'm that kind of person. So I'm trustworthy to work with, I guess. Is I don't do, I wouldn't slander people through the mud. So, it's just little things like that. Like I said, we ask all these questions about like, what helped us get successful or like how we started to do it. It's just those little things, bro. Like just maybe not sending that tweet or not, involving yourself in those kind of ways just for some simple likes. That short-term gratification will get you long-term results.
No, for sure. I mean, and a lot of those things come down to burning bridges, and a lot of that comes to ego, right? I mean, it's like you have a choice, you really do, and you have a choice at basically every juncture, and it's not even necessarily that you would be wrong, right? In like going out and tweeting, let's say this company owes me, like they are breaking contract or whatever.
I have every right to like complain, like whatever, like you owe me a ton of money, like people will kill you for this money, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? Like, but like I said, so I share these stories so that like, for people listening in, people looking for motivation, maybe you're trying to, work your way up to, new opportunities or whatever. There's going to be times where you are faced with a hard decision or put in a tough situation. How you navigate those situations are literally like extremely important decisions to make. Just do what's morally right. Like do what's gonna make sure that you can sleep well at night. Be happy to, if you're not happy to share that experience with somebody else, because like obviously you have something to hide, right? You're shameful. Like, don't put yourself in a position where you're gonna be ashamed of, really anything. So
I mean, for me, it's a bottom line thing of two values, right? It's be as kind as you can while still getting what you deserve, right? And a lot of times there's a very clear, especially when you're in a contract situation, exactly what I deserve is. I'm owed X amount of money. I'm gonna get what I'm owed because that's we entered that agreement. But I'm gonna be as kind to you, like in getting that and whatever. Like that's my bottom line, though. So if
we say we're pro players all the time with their esports orgs, their contracts. You see it all the time. They go to Twitter and like start complaining and do XYZ. A lot of the times, if you ever listen to my position on most of those types of conversations, I'm always siding with the esports org because it's normally not the esports org that's coming out trying to like cause up a stir. Right? I'm like, dude, like, well, don't be dumb. Like you should have literally read your agreement. It's not the org's fault. You got famous and you signed $500. Let them win a little bit too. Like let them eat for the next 2 months, bro. Like your world's not over. But instead, like people are like, get me out of this contract. Whatever. We've seen that a lot. That's like a low-hanging example, but
no, it is, and there's an attitude amongst pro players that
I was gonna say. And a lot of people, especially the pro player, they don't like when I take that position. But like, it's just
they want their free their free money with no extra work. I mean, they have never viewed. I don't think that the pro community has viewed the org contract as a reciprocal business thing. They think, oh, the fact that you have my name attached to your org is payment enough. Like that's enough for me, for you. Like I'm providing my my clout or whatever. And I mean, I know that being in a management position on an org now, I've struggled with that personally. I've had to have those talks. And man, I will say from personal experience, the guys that get it, the guys that are willing to, do the stuff, do their org work, deliver on their ends of the deals, with very little pushback, I'm so much more willing to throw some more money their way when it's available, or to give them more opportunities, or like, oh, hey, we have a choice of who to re-sign. You best believe I know who I'm going to. Like that, that's it's kind of that whole thing of like the way they have treated me in our business endeavors, and the way they viewed that as like it let's benefit each other by doing work for each other, has definitely come back full circle. And the pros who only view you as a paycheck, as soon as those contract terms are up or whatever, it's like, okay, like, it's nice working with you, we loved having you, but we're good, like, bye. You can really create so many further opportunities for yourself if you don't act all like egotistical and burn those bridges, you know, while you're in process with somebody. And that's a massive thing. And that's how you get, that's one of the biggest steps in changing, you know, you're going to make it while you're in high school and still living with your parents, and you're going to be successful in esports, versus you're building a career where you don't have to go to school or get that 9 to 5 or whatever. Like, you could build something for yourself now. I mean, that's one of the beauties of esports for me is, you know, you're in a position where you can be learning and teaching yourself a position and getting experience all before you graduate high school. I mean, you can be in a position where,
I mean, I was just gonna say, yeah, being a professional commentator, like there are people that go to broadcast school. If you want to be a professional host on the NBA or you know college basketball, like anything, it doesn't matter. You need to go to school. You need to pick up a formal degree. Esports is in such a unique position today, where like this is like when the police force was first introduced. Who knows how many years ago? You just signed up because you're a great Samaritan. Like,
yeah.
that's literally the esports is like wild wild west right now, bro. You just sign up and just be good, and you're gonna get in.
And
But
it
it's not
won't
gonna
be
like
that way.
forever.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Soon,
because the people
orgs
now
are gonna be like, hey,
Yep.
you need we want you to have an associate's degree in X. You know what I mean? It's gonna suck when it gets to that point.
No,
You know,
the entrepreneurs
broadcasters
now are going to be the ones that are asking for your degree 5-10 years down the
Probably.
road. They're building these skills. They're building the, you know, they're building the traditions and the kind of the way things are done now. And it's going to be, you know, corporatized. It's going to be an industry where there are standards of perfection, and there are people like, you know, you're going to build a business. It's like, yeah, I can understand that. You know, I want this degree out of you. I want this experience to weed out people that you don't want to be working with and stuff like that. So it's in a building stage right now. Esports is in. I mean, we talked about it in a Dallas IRL episode of like, we're kind of buying the dip of esports right now. If it were like a stock, like, you know,
it's just accessible. It's so accessible. It's costs nothing to build something. And all you got to do is just want it and put in the effort. And if you can do that, and you can do it like the right way, you know, not like you said, not burn any bridges, build the right relationships, uplift people around you, and you know, understand that everyone can win and still win, literally. You know, that's when it gets pretty sick. So
Oh yeah. I mean, okay, so like outside of the whole casting, outside of the whole gaming, you're also a father, which I congratulated on earlier. Which again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Again, so how old's your son right now, if you don't mind saying?
He's 5.5 months. So in 2 weeks he'll be 6 months.
Jeez.
Just so sick. Like he learned how to roll, and he's starting to reach for stuff. Like he does his own little baby talk. So you know he's got a personality coming out. It's it's freaking awesome, dude.
How has being a father changed the way you view your career, the industry? I mean, just kind of changed everything about you, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I think the attributes, like having those dad attributes, maybe just dates back to me being the oldest son, right? Like of my brothers and my sisters. So I've always kind of been a leader of sorts, right? Like in just throughout my life. So actually, when I got my now wife, like 7 or 8 years ago, she already had a daughter. So I'm a stepdad to a now turning 15-year-old, and I've been raising her for more than half her life. So think about that. That's kind of crazy. If you think about it. So yeah, you know, when I got with my lady at the time, you know, she already had a daughter, but that didn't stop me from, you know, finding love with her, and then ultimately stepping up and raising my stepdaughter, right? Who's now turning 15. So yeah, you know, like fatherhood, you know, all the sacrifices that goes into balancing out just being an adult and a caretaker and provider for my entire family, while still having to, you know, chase my own dreams and do the crazy stuff and travel the world the way I have been able to. It's not simple. It can be very complicated, but you know, I'm an easygoing guy. I just, you know, just one thing at a time. You know, you put time into every, you know, thing that's important to me when the time calls for it, and hopefully it's enough to make sure everyone feels, you know, satiated, happy. Feels good.
Yeah. I mean, so like that balance of like your personal life, so like raising a child and going out with family, and like your work life, which is casting and prac serve and all this, like what importance does that balance bring? Like how much of that do you need in your life to like be able to cast like as your professional job, of course, making the amount of revenue that you do to support your family, and the personal life of making sure there's time for your kid, making sure that you're in his life and in her life to know that you're a supportive figure.
I mean,
Yeah,
you were in
it was-
Copenhagen for a few weeks, right? Recording for the last major.
Those are definitely the toughest. But I would say like one of the biggest sacrifices I had to make was like super early on. So like I said, I got my wife many years ago. When I was a full-time streamer, I would stream like, dude, like 8, 9, 10 a.m. and you stream until 4, 5, 6, 7. Like you just go, right? Like you're literally binge streaming. That was like everything. That was my life. But when I became a dad, basically a stepdad, like I had to make the craziest sacrifice. I had to end my shows no matter how popping it was. I could have 1,500. I could be rated by Tfue, fresh off the boat, 20K viewers. Like right then, I had to end my show because I gotta go get my daughter from school. Like that's the kind of sacrifices I had to make that people just don't even realize like how much. Like that's like a knife to the gut, bro. When like this
Hitting that end stream button,
this is everything I've worked for, and no matter. It doesn't matter. It's not more important than having to be there
first,
because I gotta get my kid from school, or like she has a dance, whatever, whatever the little thing that it is. Right now we're preparing for a quinceañera because I gotta go buy her a dress. Like it doesn't matter what you need. I gotta go be there for this thing. Like this is way more important. So balance is dumb hard to do, especially for me now. I'm in 4 businesses. I have the practice server. I have Movement Digital, which luckily my partner Brave just operates like a champ. I've invested in a company called Diablo Builds, which you guys probably have seen out there. Completely different, but it's diversifying, is getting into web space and making money online. And then I have my another business which people don't know about, which I'm going to be announcing soon. But that one alone takes all the preparation time that I've been putting into that just to even get that to a launch period. And those are just the businesses that I'm like an owner in, right? And I have a say in the direction of the company. That has nothing to do with my revenue streams from the podcast that I run 2 episodes a week, and the casting obligations when I got to travel out of the country. And work doesn't stop just because I have other things to do. Like it's always going. But you still have to make time. So I like to tell people I have 10 jobs. I don't have one
kidding.
job. I don't just do this thing. A million different things. But that's how you make it. That's how you make it.
No, I mean, I fully agree. You got to be a Swiss Army knife. You got to be doing, as much as possible and be in every space that you can. I'm ready to start winding down, Vishal. I think if you are as well.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I really wanted that opinion on the whole, becoming a father, like the balance and stuff. Like, I think that's really cool because there's a lot of people in the scene. Like this scene's really young. Like it's it's a lot of people that are not over 2021, and the guys that are again the casters or the people, the higher ups or anybody like that. And just getting to know like people, like that's the whole point of this podcast, is trying to get to know their life outside of just gaming. And I think that's the goal of like what Brand Risk was as well, which we built off of. So getting to know like your personal life, trying to know like how you're able to balance it. It's really important for others, and it's also important to see like how you're doing it and how you're managing it.
And just one thing I want to share, like for creators out there, especially if you're successful, like streaming isn't shouldn't be the end game. Like end game should be like streaming and the YouTube and the sponsorship deals and everything that comes with it. So like people that just focus on one avenue, like it's okay to put it like this. It's all right to, focus on the platforms that you think you can do well in. You don't have to win in everything, but you need to have some kind of diversity. Like regardless of what that is, whether it's a podcast or if it's TikTok or whatever. Like I could easily build a huge TikTok. But I don't, like, because I don't think that's not the demographic that I want to monetize on. You know what I mean? For me personally. But like my daughter, I've already gotten her close to 40,000 followers because I know how it works, like try this, do this little caption or this. Hey, look, you can tighten up that intro just a little bit, like try this. You know what I mean? And like all of a sudden, like you look at her timeline, and it's just like, holy shit, like this is popping off.
It is.
So she's got her own sponsors now.
It's learning those high value skills. Social media.
Those are skills. Yes,
is as much a skill as anything. Like that. It's things you can learn, right? Like, I'm in the, you got to learn. Like, I mean, you talk about, I've mentioned this a couple times, but like how Mr. Beast rose to fame was literally getting with a group of guys and they reverse engineered YouTube. They learned everything about the algorithm, what works for a thumbnail, what works in, you know, keywords and all that stuff. They kind of reverse engineered this this blueprint, this formula for how to be successful on the platform. And you like, that's the work you got to put in, man. It's not just Twitch. It's, you know, your YouTube, your TikTok, your Twitch, your Twitter. You got to be strategic about how you approach everything. Every move matters that you make in social media. But you kind of beat us to the punch. So I'll ask the other. We have two traditional last questions, but
My bad.
one of
No,
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 all
no,
good.
yeah. I mean, it
One
flowed
of
in
them.
pretty well, yeah.
One of them is like, just what can we expect from you coming up? Like, what's coming up for you in the near future? What kind of further plans do you have? What do you want to step into?
Yeah, so like in the next 30 or 40 days or so, we're definitely pushing a major announcement. It's the launch of my next company, which I think is going to it's something the space needs. It's definitely something the space needs. The difference between me and I think my competitors and other people in this space, but especially my competitors, is that I'm genuinely like building esports. Like I'm legitimately like as physical or as realistic to the word building means, and then applying whatever you're putting next to it. Like that's what I'm doing. Like I literally create events and consult with companies and bring in money. Like here's the other side, right? If you look at the impact that we've been able to do, we brought like millions of dollars to players, like legitimate through third party tournaments. So my next company is definitely going to be one that is going to continue to support esports and be a part of the gaming space and make a positive impact, which I'm super excited for, because there's a lot of companies that market to esports, but they don't build esports at all. They just sell you guys stuff. You know what I mean? And they're not contributing anything that's worth a dime.
Well,
so
that's why
I'm really
love,
happy. So.
Yeah, that's why I love when it comes from
saying what I'm getting into.
Yeah. That's why I love when it comes from internal, though. You know, it's people who have passion for it, you know, and want to build it for the sake of the people and the games and the community that come out of that. I mean, I've got a venture with Advith in like basically building a Radiant in the game. Like we're marketing like a server for only top 500, and we're, you know, going to have tournaments build off of it and all of that. And that whole idea was, you know, we want to get back to this community. We want to provide something, like we wanted to provide a reason to grind ranked, and we wanted to build that system better and all of that stuff. So
that'll all be linked down below. Come on now.
Yeah. But you know, this same motivation is like, yeah, you got to be a pioneer. You got to be building something new. If you just keep doing what other people have done and trying to emulate and just trying to get a share of what's already there, that's not, you know, you look at all the most successful businessmen period in history, you know, all of that was new endeavors. It was pushing their spaces and their industries into new places,
or build it better.
Like, or redefining it. That absolutely,
that's hard to do. You know, being the best is hard, man.
Yeah,
especially when you got some people that are good up there. So
for sure.
I just hate like not being busy. Like being busy genuinely like. It helps me for time consumption reasons. Well, the way I base my busyness also is, and it's actually kind of crazy, is my phone screen time. If I'm on my phone for more than like 2-3 hours a day, I know something's wrong. I know something's gone horribly wrong. And that's where I'm like, the next day I reevaluate. That night I'll reevaluate. I'm like, okay, what do I need to get done? What am I waking up?
Because you can reallocate that time somewhere. Yeah.
I live my life like on the calendar. So like, I think a lot of people can just do this. Like, just put your task on there. When that alarm goes off, like straight up.
Don't
you can literally complete most things in like 30 minutes, 15, 30 minutes. If you just hard focus, like, okay, I need to make an email list. Like, you can do that in 15, 30 minutes. Like, just sit down, do the work. Search it, get it done. You know, knock it out, organize it, whatever. So yeah, I live by the calendar.
So like I said, you kind of beat us to our last traditional question, though. We ask every guest this. It could be Fortnite related, it could be business related, it could be whatever, it could be life, fatherhood. But if you were to give the audience just one like most important or piece of advice maybe that you haven't touched on or you really want to re-emphasize or whatever, just one piece of advice for the people listening, what would it be?
I mean, I've definitely shared a lot, I think, of my own personal beliefs and the way I navigate this entire industry. I constantly reflect back to those moments because I think it's super important that people understand, like, you could do this thing that I do, which is as genuine to me as it can be, and still be successful. You don't have to
Yeah.
be a person who needs validation, but maybe you are that kind of person, and that drives you. But yeah, if I'm gonna leave anyone with any bit of advice, I guess I'm just gonna reiterate maybe that point. Be yourself.
Mm.
Don't be afraid to, speak up when the time calls for it, but also just don't be afraid to just not have an opinion sometimes on certain things, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, your opinion is really not that important, right? So
Yeah.
um be less important. If you're the most important
Yeah.
person in the room, as they say, maybe you're in the wrong room.
Mm.
So yeah, do your best to really humble yourself, pay attention to your environments, and yeah, when it comes down to, if trying to be successful out there and getting stuff done, don't be afraid to do it your way. Just do it your way, and I think it'll be just fine. You'll attract people to you that can resonate with you, and
Yeah.
and that's really all you need sometimes. So
Trying to say
Yeah.
any better. Yeah.
I don't have anything to add. That was perfectly said. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for yet another installment of the GhostComms podcast. We'll have Monster's socials and stuff linked below. Go give him a follow, check him out. Like I said, he's been a role model for me, and I love getting to talk to him at different steps in my career. Every time I see him, like Dallas was a big one for me after Invitational, because so much changed for me. And I got to build so much, and a lot of that was due to his encouragement and advice. We'll have our stuff linked below as well. Go check out Pipeline as well. And we
And
will
while you're
catch.
down there, check out Unreal League as well. All linked down
Yep,
below.
Unreal League. We will catch you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.